Hello, friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Seldin. I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle Ngo, and I've seen almost nothing.
And I'm Ethan Quinsey, and I have been waiting 26 episodes to see the reaction on these two's faces to these episodes.
Okay, I have to admit something.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're here.
Yes.
I accidentally spoilered myself for the fact that Sinclair was leaving the show, but I didn't say anything. And I accidentally spoilered it because I think that Joy mentions the actor and didn't know the actor's name. So, of course, I went to the internet to find the actor's name, clicked on the actor's IMDb page, and the first thing I saw was 26 episodes.
No.
All right, well, the cat's out of the bag.
And I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know if he was going to die. I didn't know if, something, I don't know. But I didn't want to, say anything because obviously Joy hadn't figured it out.
Yep.
No, yeah.
Cat's out of the bag. Sinclair gone.
This is one of the problems.
Yeah.
This is one of the problems with double-checking things on the internet.
I know.
On a show that is over 20 years old.
To be honest, it didn't occur to me that I would encounter a spoiler by Googling the captain of the ship. The whole thing. I don't know. Not the captain of the ship, because he's not a captain of a ship. He's the commander of a space station.
But I military governor.
I didn't think that I would encounter a spoiler because you don't ever think that the commander of the...
No, why would you?
But wait.
That's fine. I encounter those all the time.
But Joy, did you have any initial reaction? I still have thoughts about Sheridan and can talk about Sheridan quite a bit, but I did unfortunately spoiler myself on Sinclair.
I need to do the episode opener.
Does it begin with the words "New Captain Who Dis" in all caps? Because otherwise...
So the first episode of the second season premiere is Points of Departure. As a new commander assumes control of the station, a renegade Minbari warship arrives, threatening trouble. That's it.
Wow, that's all they say? Wow.
Yes.
Well.
Spoilers, darling.
Wow.
Commence with your opinion.
I'm amazed that they didn't mention Lanier's defense skills.
There was so much else that happened in the first episode. There was so much that happened.
It's a one-sentence synopsis. There's only so much they can pack in.
No, I know. I'm mostly just giving them crap because so many of the other synopses have at least 3 or 4 sentences, and this one is very dry. And I'm like, interesting.
There have been other longer
ones. Maybe they too
ones.
have opinions about Sheridan.
The one for the next episode is 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences.
You see?
Yeah.
Wild.
I'm just surprised. I was not prepared to never see Sinclair again. Or I don't know if he comes back at some point, that's great. But I was not prepared for it not to be hey, there's been a court-martial, we're waiting for the results, he'll be back in 3 weeks. I was not prepared for that. I was not prepared for by the way, he's just going to be the Minbari attaché, and who knows when you'll see him again. Was not on my bingo card.
Well, Joy, because I spoiled myself and I said it earlier, I'm just going to repeat it again because you're going to hear it in the recording. So according to his IMDb page, he's only in 26 episodes. So
yeah,
this is it. We're done. Goodbye.
Yeah. Well, no.
But maybe,
the first
unless
season
there's
was
a
22.
guest. So that's why I'm it's goodbye, as in he's not coming back for a whole other season.
He's not coming back consistently.
But 26 episodes.
Yeah. I was not prepared for... No, but they established that in the first episode of basically just being so he's just gone. Okay, cool. I was not expecting... So Sheridan... Let's see. I'm going to try to be timeskeeper for this episode so that we don't go too over time. Yeah, Sheridan, let's talk about Sheridan. Speaking of cat out of the bag, because he's the cat, and I don't know how I feel about him. I have a lot of conflicting feelings. First of all, he's the guy who moved my cheese because he's not Sinclair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Sinclair had a lot of flaws that I thought were interesting for a commander of a space station.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he was very quick to anger and very quick to, like his crazy eyes and stuff like that we would joke about. But it's like, I don't know if that's a good quality to have in a commander of a space station. Like, just, he kind of seemed like he had like a death wish some of the time.
Especially because you had Garibaldi right there with him, and they kind of egged each other on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I'm a little bit like, okay, the character of Sinclair probably needed a redo anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Sheridan is such, it's like, yeah, Boy Scout, Golden Retriever, but like also very weirdly almost politician-y and charming, which I was not expecting. In who could be Sinclair's replacement?
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the canon. He says it even in like his little interrupted intro speech that he is the son of a diplomat.
Yeah.
So this is something that comes fairly naturally to this character.
Which I guess is okay. It's just one of those things where, and I don't know if this is personal to me, or whether the show is doing this on purpose, but when someone is that way and just sort of is like relentlessly optimistic and goes on and on about fruit, I am instantly suspicious. Like I am instantly suspicious of anyone who reads like a politician. But I can't tell whether that's me, because that's just who I am as a person. I'm like, ooh, that smile is hiding something, or whether the show is setting him up for that. So I'm kind of interested to see. I don't know.
It's the veneers.
It's
the
like this-
veneers.
that's
They
what I
give
mean.
off this air of untrustworthiness.
There's so much about him that just feels fake.
Yep.
Including the veneers.
Yes.
And again, I can't tell if it's the show or if it's him or
Yep.
if it's me, and I'm projecting.
Side note, for people who have still never seen this show, I would just like to mention that Captain John Sheridan, who is Sinclair's replacement, is played by an actor named Bruce Boxleitner, who will be known to our grandparents from Bonanza, and who is known to probably a lot of us millennials as Tron.
Yeah.
Joy,
Which is kind of amazing.
From the movie Tron.
Joy, you made me watch Tron, but I don't remember what.
Oh God, did I?
I think so.
Did I?
Or did you just make me watch the remakes? You made me watch some
The
kind.
sequels.
The sequels.
So,
You made me watch some kind of Tron.
so here's the thing: is we might have talked about watching Tron
Oh, we need to watch
because
Tron.
I do like quick Tron tangent. The Tron movie in its original state actually gives me legitimate migraines.
Yes.
I can't physically watch it without being in physical pain.
So that's what we
Yep.
did.
Now-
We must have watched the sequel. Because I was like, wait, I don't remember this guy's
Yeah.
face.
Yep.
It's entirely possible that we watched either pieces of the new one or what they have done. I forget if it's on Disney Plus or if it like one of the new Blu-ray reboots or whatever. They have actually adjusted the visuals so that you no longer get migraines when you watch it.
Oh, okay.
So the original is very neon blue, neon red, a lot
Yeah.
of shapes, fighting shapes.
Yep.
It was the 80s. No, 70? 79?
80s. Early 80s.
80s. But it like Tron was a very revolutionary film that is like a super near and dear to Nella's heart if no one else is.
And
the
there were a surprising number of Babylon 5 people on Tron. In Tron.
Maybe we should
Including
watch that.
David Warner and Peter Jurasik was in Tron.
Oh.
Who was Londo's actor was in Tron. He
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
killed very early on.
Oh.
I was just gonna say he's one of the programs who doesn't make it.
Aw.
Right?
Yeah, he's the accounting program
Hey,
at the beginning.
spoilers for a 30-year-old movie.
There are a lot of programs, a lot of accounting programs that get killed in Tron.
And by 30, I mean 40? Hey, spoilers for a 40-year-old movie.
Hang on. I need to check. I think it's 82. Yeah,
It might
1982.
be 82.
1982. It's a 42-year-old movie.
It was just before. I just remember it was made before I was born.
Yep.
It's like just before I was born.
All right.
It like squidged just before.
Oh,
But,
All right,
the sequel I absolutely love, and I was so nervous to show it to Nella. And then Nella was like, no, this is actually amazing. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because it was like everyone who liked Tron seemed to hate it.
I liked it. We need to stop the Tron tangent or this will become a Tron episode.
No, I know. That was literally the 2 points that I wanted to say.
All right. If you do watch Tron, get Nella on the episode. Because she'll do better than I will. She'll do better than I will.
So, Ethan, you can choose whether or not to confirm whether I should be suspicious of Sheridan. I leave that to you. I can't tell if it's me or if it's him.
I'm going to answer that because I don't want you to go through the rest of the series with false hope.
Okay.
Sheridan is the salt of the earth.
Okay.
As good as bread, as clear as water. He is exactly what he appears to be.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I just have an issue with politician types.
Yes, which is very wise. But he is I call him a golden retriever because he literally is.
Well, in that case, I think it will be sort of interesting to see him as, like, before Sinclair left, we've discussed this together. This was just a ship and a crew full of very, very traumatized people. And now it's going to be kind of interesting to see Garibaldi and Ivanova, who very clearly are still traumatized people, now working under a captain who is just here for the oranges. And
well, here's the thing: is he also is traumatized, as we find out in the first episode.
In the second episode,
he does get some closure. I think more than the other two characters have had, but. Sure. I suppose that's going to I imagine that'll come back, right?
Yes. So, grabbing a detail from the second episode.
Yeah.
Just to bring it into this one. So, talking about Sheridan's trauma, Sheridan, about 3 years prior to this, Sheridan lost his wife. She was on a science vessel and her ship exploded mysteriously. She was on board a ship called the Icarus, which you in danger, girl.
Yeah.
No, one of my notes literally says never name a ship the Icarus.
Never. Why would you?
Or the Mary Celeste.
Or that.
Or the Titanic.
Or Starship. No, they've done Starship Titanic. What was the other thing? But the big thing that we find out in this episode is that Sheridan is a very controversial choice to be in charge of Babylon 5 because the Minbari hate him. Him specifically.
Yeah.
In the entirety of the Earth-Minbari War, it was basically Minbari 1,000,000, humans 1. And Sheridan is the only Earth commander, anything, starship captain. He's the only person who ever scored a victory against the Minbari.
The Star Destroyer.
Star Killer.
Star Killer. Oh, I knew
Star
it had
Killer.
Star Killer.
Star Killer. Yes.
Star Destroyer is too close to Star Wars.
Technically, so is Star Killer.
Fair.
I know. I know.
For the deep cuts. I watched this episode 2 weeks ago, so now I'm confusing what I know with what is actually in this episode.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I also watched this longer than a week ago, so.
Yeah. But,
I we get the Minbari hate him in this very first episode. We get his personal trauma in episode number 2. But I would argue that, he understands his role to the Minbari, and he does not make apologies for the fact that he won this battle and in fact kind of wears it on his sleeve. Like you can even see this is the conflicting part where I'm just like, okay, but like he seems to be a precious cinnamon roll, except when he's trying to like neg the Minbari. Like and I was just like, okay.
One
Okay, so
specific
you're
Minbari.
racist? Question mark? Like I
One
kept coming
specific
back to
Minbari.
this like we gonna be racist? It's like everyone's cool except the Minbari? No, maybe not. Like the whole episode I was going back and forth of like, do you just hate the Minbari? Because that's rude.
He doesn't though, and weirdly it feels like he should. Like I'm not like I am not advocating for a more racist captain, but it does feel like we've gotten two veterans of this really hellacious war. We've gotten a number of veterans of this really hellacious war on the command staff, and none of them seem to be harboring any weird prejudices.
Yeah, I did find that rather strange.
Sheridan was like handpicked for this role. He was actually like at the top of the list. And he should have had this command, except the Minbari said no. And then you get President Clark, who is not actually a George W. Bush stand-in, but who became one when I rewatched this in high school.
Fair. How old is Captain Sheridan supposed to be? That was my other weird question, because he's like, he won this battle 12 years ago.
He was a baby.
And I'm staring at him like, I think it's just the baby face, because the actor himself, if I'm not mistaken, is like 75 right now.
Now he is.
So in theory, he's in his 40s, 50s when he does Babylon 5. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. He should be in his 30s or 40s, because the 90s wasn't 20 years ago.
No, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry.
It's just that meme that's been going around of like people talk about the 90s like the people in the 90s used to talk about the 60s, and it just blows your mind. It's a real one of those days.
Okay, according to the Babylon Project, which is the B5 fandom wiki, he is in his first appearance, the character is 44 years old.
Interesting. Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better about that. Because at first I was like, are you just a boy genius? Like, because I could almost be like, okay, you were like 22 when you did this amazing thing, and now you're just a hotshot in your 30s.
He's not Captain Kirk.
But 44 makes a little more sense.
Yeah, so that is, again, but I mean, take that with a grain of salt. That is fandom. There's no citation on that.
Yeah, sure.
But it seems realistic.
I mean, while we're talking about Sheridan and his relationship to the Minbari, one final thing about Sinclair that I wanted to say is that I know that we're going to get a little bit more of Sinclair, but part of the reason I'm sad to see him go is everything that Joy said, right? Like, it's just hard to adjust to something that's new. And I did really like the character. And I know that the actor left for good reasons, but, we'll put that gently aside for a second.
Do you know why he left? Did you read that?
I did a little Googling, yeah.
Okay.
Like, once I felt like, okay, I finished season 1, now I can, like, dip in and see what was going on there.
Now I can figure out why. But I don't know why.
But
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm hoping that at some point, like, one of the things I was really interested to see was how his relationship with the Minbari was going to play out. And how they were going to put a bow on that entire situation. And the cool thing in this first episode is that we get a little bit of insight into why Sinclair is so special to the Minbari, which definitely is something we should talk about. But did you want to talk about why the actor left the show first?
Yes.
Should we talk about that? Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So, Michael O'Hare, who played Sinclair, passed away in 2013. And About 8 months after that, Straczynski was at the 20th anniversary reunion at the Phoenix Comic Con, and he disclosed that O'Hare left due to mental illness. He was affected by paranoia and delusions, and Straczynski at the time had said, "We can shut the show down until you are, you have been able to
In a
get
better
this-
spot.
in a
Yeah.
better spot." And O'Hare said that he did not want the show to shut down. He wanted it to continue. So, and then Straczynski said, "All right, well, I promise I won't. I will take this to my death," is what he said. And O'Hare told him, "No, just take it to my death." So Michael O'Hare basically retired from acting after Babylon 5 because of mental health issues. That is not how he died. He died of a heart attack. I just want to correct myself. He passed away in 2012.
Okay.
Straczynski talked about this in 2013.
In 2013, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, but see, now I feel bad for calling him out for his crazy eyes.
That was acting. You're allowed to do that. That's okay.
I know.
Like he was putting
No,
them
but
on.
this
Yes,
a
that
very,
was
a very
deliberate.
quick. I know. A very quick side note. This does feel a little bit like watching, for people who have watched Evangelion. This is very much like, wow, this show is nuts, and then you realize the creator of Evangelion was slowly going crazy while he made it. And then you're like, oh, okay, hang on.
The thing that I actually find very poignant about that is how much of Sinclair's story in the first season deals with how unreliable his own memory is.
Yes, that was what really stuck out to me. Like the fact that he in real life was dealing with delusions and hallucinations, and that's what that's the character he was playing in the show. That's why I said he sort of left for good reasons, because I can only imagine what it must feel like to be someone who's struggling with that in real life, and then also
with a sense of
having
reality,
to
yeah.
Yes, exactly, and then also having to put that on, I guess, for the world.
Yeah,
as
it
his
reminds
character.
me of like an interview or like an article or something I was reading that Bob Hoskins was talking about his work on Roger Rabbit, which sometime, Danielle, we're actually going to have to show you
must.
because it's amazing.
Yes.
But in Roger Rabbit, he is acting to nobody, and he had to convince himself that he was acting with actors and with cartoons and with shapes. So for literally the entire experience, he's basically convincing himself that there are things that are there that are not there. And for about 2 years after, he had a lot of trouble discerning reality from fantasy because he had gotten so used to fabricating these blue screen cartoon everything. He had to in some scenes he had to fabricate every single person he was talking to, and it literally drove him to a point where he was like, I don't know what reality is, and he had to reset his brain. Yeah, I love that Joe was like, we'll just pause filming because I'll just do that.
Yeah,
like, Joe,
we'll wait for you. Oh,
we'll
love that.
We'll wait till you're in a better place. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How do we segue out of this? I can't actually segue out of it.
I know.
I just said that.
I think I know.
Okay.
There it is. You did it. Well done. Good job. So the Minbari, you have, wow, why am I Delenn? I don't know why I was blanking on her name for a second. You have Delenn in a cocoon. And you have Lanier defending that cocoon, which I think I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, which is my favorite. Him and his little karate stance is my favorite thing.
I love him so much.
Every time Lanier reminds us that he is secretly a Shaolin monk.
Like a ninja.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like a Shaolin monk. Yeah, exactly.
Just makes me so happy.
So this was going to be my one more thing, but I think I have to talk about it here because it was so funny. When he went into that stance for a hot second, I thought it was like some weird Jedi mind trick because the guy he was doing it against didn't move. And I was like, did he just like pause him with his brain? What just happened?
Freeze frame.
Anyway,
I
freeze frame.
imagine that the other person was reacting the way many of us would react if Lanier, the person that is Lanier, all of a sudden went into defense mode. I would be so in shock.
I would be
And
like,
I love,
what are you
I
doing?
love his
What is happening?
response too. I love what he says after security has showed up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the the Minbari captain who has broken into Delen's quarters is still holding a gun on him, and security's behind him, and Lanier just looks at security, looks at the captain, and says, "If you're going to kill me, then do so. If not, I have considerable work to do."
I'm so glad you quoted that. Wait, Ethan, that was one of the quotes I actually typed out. It's in my notes.
That is burned into my brain. I love it. I love it so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But so while Delen is in this cocoon, you get, and you might have to help me here, Ethan. I did not write down the name of this Minbari, the politician, not the terrorist.
Kalain? No,
Yeah,
Kalain is the terrorist, right?
Kalain is the terrorist.
Okay.
I believe this Minbari is named Hedron.
Hedron.
Hedron. Incidentally, Hedron, if you are a Buffy fan, you will recognize him.
That was just what I was about to say. I don't know his name, but I know Robin Sachs. And Robin Sachs played Ethan in Buffy, and like forever Robin Sachs. I love that dude. He also, Galaxy Quest, played our bad guy in Galaxy Quest. He was an extremely versatile actor.
And he was in, I believe he was in Mass Effect, the video game series.
He was in Mass Effect as well.
Yeah, he was a extremely versatile actor. He passed away right around the same time Michael O'Hare did, actually. I think it was the same year.
Didn't realize he was in Mass Effect.
He passed away in the early 20-teens.
Babylon 5 actors have this creepy habit of passing away in clumps.
Oh.
Yeah. I think it also just has to do with how big the cast is at that point.
Yes.
I witnessed this also with a lot of Xena and Hercules actors. The same phenomenon also happened. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. You also employed like the size of a small city. So that also kind of makes sense.
No, I just when Michael O'Hare and Robin Sachs passed away, I did God help me, I did a live journal post about Hush.
Well, at least you had live journal. I had dead journal because I was a weirdo.
I had one of those too. I just never used it. I did a live journal post that was just listing names and pictures of all of the B5 actors who had passed away. And it was just looking at it. It's really heartbreaking, and it's weird now. And Straczynski said, I forget which of the passings caused him to say this, but he said, the core Star Trek cast was around for 50 years. Why are my people dying?
No.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Absolutely.
Speaking of death.
But yes. So Robin Sachs decides to discuss with them. I'm just going to call him Sachs from now on.
Minbari Robin Sachs, yes.
Yes.
Decides to actually explain why Sinclair was chosen and why the Minbari not stopped the war, but I guess stopped the war.
They did.
But what?
Yeah, they surrendered.
Yeah,
They definitely stopped the war.
And especially at the height of, like, you're winning, why did you stop?
Right,
Yeah.
like they were literally about to eliminate all of the humans.
Yep. Oh, and he makes Lanier do it, though.
Does he?
Yes.
Okay.
He makes
Lanier...
he tells Lanier everything off camera.
Yes.
And then he makes Lanier tell the new captain.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Amazing.
Now, I'm personally okay with that decision because then I got to see Lanier. I got to see Lanier explain all of that, but...
I just want to say, the change in Lanier from the end of the first season to the beginning of the second season is the most dramatic character change, personally, I think, in the show, and I'm including Delen's change in that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, I haven't checked to see what the span of time is between the end of the first season and the beginning of the second. But it is a span of time. It's not a day. And Lennier has just been alone, with Delenn in her cocoon, praying,
Literally meditating,
sponging. And he has clearly changed
Yes.
in some way.
Yeah.
yeah.
He is not you're not going to see that little wide-eyed little innocent again. He's gone.
Sure. Although he definitely doesn't quite pick up the political ball nearly as much, to the chagrin of the other ambassadors on the ship, of just being like, you're supposed to be the proxy. Can't you actually be the proxy? And I'm just like, Lennier is not built for politics.
Yes. I love what Londo says to him, though. He's like, Delenn is in a cocoon. Yes. And?
I know, yeah.
That whole bit, that's at the beginning of the second episode, that whole speech from Londo complaining about Jakar's missing and Delenn's missing, and how she's picked the most breathtakingly inconvenient time to explore different career paths, like becoming a butterfly.
I do love that nobody knows what's happening, but they do know that Delenn is in a cocoon.
Yes.
Like
the
that
whole
rumor
station.
mill. Yeah, that rumor mill on the space station has made it. But yeah, so Lennier explains to them that when the Minbari had scanned Sinclair and then scanned other humans, they actually found Minbari souls. And this sort of explains the deficit of souls that they had been witnessing. Basically, that Minbari believe that their souls are just, constantly being recycled back into the population. But however, the population had sort of been diminishing, and they have this understanding that the Minbari of today are not the Minbari of yesterday. Which I think is a really interesting take on, like, I don't know if that is that actually, maybe Ethan, you can actually answer this question. Is that the prophecy that they're talking about, or is the prophecy like a separate thing?
Well, they explain a prophecy later, and let me see if I've got it right, and if I've got it wrong, then because I think what they explain later is that if some of the souls are going into humans, right, and some of the souls are staying with the Minbari, then the humans and the Minbari are going to have to work together. Right? Like, isn't that the prophecy? That like both groups have to work together. I mean, I'll see what I put in my notes. Which will be sort of interesting. The great enemy is returning, and the prophecy that the two sides of our spirit must unite against the darkness or be destroyed is what I have written down. And I interpreted that the two sides of our spirit being like it'll take both races to stop the darkness, and I was interpreting that as both races being the Minbari plus the Earthers who have their souls. How close am I? Okay.
Spoilers.
Okay, close?
Spoilers.
I was like, because I know I had always feeling where you Ethan were gonna be like, oh no, what did they actually say in the episode versus what do I know? And I'm like, okay, so here's what's in my notes.
This is a real Doctor Who moment of like, he will knock 4 times. And for the audience that gets that, and no spoilers here. But yeah, it's a real he will knock 4 times comment. But yeah, so this is shared with the captain and with Ivanova, I believe, that just the two of them in the room. And meanwhile, as we've kind of touched on, we have this Minbari terrorist who is on the ship kind of trying to start trouble. He ends up killing himself after he's taken prisoner. And then his warship shows up. And it's, Captain Sheridan is able to sort of piece all of this together of like, oh, I see. These people are trying to restart the war. And realizing that this warship is actually, in fact, like renegades even from the Minbari government, sending out a little message that's like, we found your terrorist ship. And like, the Minbari government shows up to destroy it. And there's just this moment of like, Sheridan counts it as like another victory for himself almost. And like the Minbari are like, no, this is not a victory. This is a sad day. Goodbye. And they leave.
Did he though? I didn't think of him as counting it as like a victory. He's not like, it's not a notch in his belt or anything.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's...
I think it's more he's pleased with his own cleverness.
Sure. I think on the heels of so many Minbari dying, being pleased with your own cleverness felt a little gross to me at the time. Which again is why I'm like, I keep arguing with myself about Sheridan. I'm like, okay, cinnamon roll, or are you happy to see Minbari die? Like, what's happening, dude? Where are we? But yeah, I do love that he gives his speech to an empty room at the end of the episode. That's pretty great.
He's not superstitious. He is a little stitious.
Yeah. Just a little stitches.
Little stitious.
He's a little sus.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Tiny sus.
Okay.
So that
All right.
brings us to episode 2, Revelations.
Episode 2, Revelations.
Have talk about already. But I do love that we've gone from the one storyline we had in the first episode of the season back to 3.
4.
Which is why we have 4 sentences.
Yes, 4 sentences. All right, Revelations. Jakar brings news of a terrible new enemy. The arrival of Sheridan's sister opens up old wounds for the new commander. Dr. Franklin employs an unorthodox procedure to try to bring Garibaldi out of his coma. Delen's mysterious change is completed. There's so much happening in this episode.
What do you want to start with?
I just want to say that we never meet Sheridan's sister again.
Oh.
And when we, the next time his wife is referenced visually, she's played by a different actress.
Oh.
Oh,
Well, that's a little confusing.
I hate them when they do that.
Yeah.
It's deeply confusing.
Well,
Ay.
speaking of different actors, the actor for Natav, it's gonna give me a second. It's gonna take me a second to warm up to this new actor. It's not that they aren't doing a good job. It's just that they are very clearly
Someone
playing,
moved your cheese, Danielle.
They're very clearly playing a different character.
Yeah.
It's like Natav is a different person.
I don't know why they didn't just change her name, quite frankly.
Right. I mean, because like her relationship with Jakar is different. She's softer. I don't know. It's like she's an entirely different character.
Yeah, she doesn't have the hard edge
No.
that the previous actress had.
That's what I meant by like she's softer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's so funny because it's like, it's not even like she's more violent or more aggressive. It's just, no, literally she is more precise.
Mm-hmm.
And this actress's take is just so, I was interested in Natav before, and now it's like, oh, I guess I don't care now. It's so weird. It's like Natav is on the screen and I'm just like, meh.
So the behind-the-scenes reason for Natav being recast, Julie Caitlin Brown, who was Natav's original actress, if you recall way back in the beginning of the first season, Jakar had an aide named Kodath, who he then said later met with an unfortunate accident involving an airlock. That actress quit with basically no notice because she could not handle the prosthetics. The casting director, and I'm reading all of this from the Lurker's Guide. This is all this part of the Lurker's Guide is taken from old Usenet conversations that Straczynski had when the show was on the air. So this is what Straczynski said at the time. The casting director called in a favor from Julie Caitlin Brown, who was not a character actress. She'd worked primarily as a romantic lead. So she came in, she shot with makeup that wasn't even designed for her face, and she did, how many episodes? About 9? And she had to turn down a lot of leading parts to do that. So she made the decision to leave the show for the sake of her career. And then they recast Natoff specifically because they needed a character who already had some knowledge of the situation.
Oh, I see.
As opposed to giving Jakar a new aide who doesn't know anything about what's going on, and this where we are in an extremely everything that is happening within the universe is going to be very uneven for a very long time, and he may not need an aide for very long. So they just didn't know. And Straczynski did say that the actress was potentially trying to reinterpret the character in a way that he and the directors did not agree with. So y'all are not wrong. She's playing Natoff as a different character.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the actress read a different, and I'm sure there was a line of like, you have a certain amount of hours in your shooting schedule, you only have a certain amount of time with the script and the character and the prosthetics and the director talking to the actors and all that kind of stuff. Like, yes, there's been a lot of pushback on like, that actor is making a weird choice, when a lot of actors don't necessarily have a choice for the things they do. A lot of it is like the director and the set design and the staging, like that informs an actor's decision. It's just really interesting that this actress comes across so completely differently. And it feels like we had a shooting schedule and we didn't have time to make the consistencies consistent in the way that we would have liked to, And also, I'm sure the new actress probably just didn't want to do the exact same thing that the previous actress was doing.
Right.
I also get that too, where it's like, I am just a cheap imitation of what came before me, and you try to read new life into something. But at the same time, it's just like, even the lines that she says, I'm just like, oh, I hear those very differently in my head. And the cognitive dissonance. I know literally so many other things happen in this episode, but all I could think about was how Natoff was different. Almost the entire time.
I know. That's why I kind of felt like I had to mention it up top, because it was just sort of top of mind. But to turn to one of our plot lines, which one should we start with?
I mean, I also wrote down that Londo is nervous about his involvement in the dark, shadowy figures just, like, taking out a bunch of people really fast.
Oh, you mean his conversation with Morden?
Yeah. Well, the where he was like, I will take credit for this victory, even though he basically doesn't know what happened, and, like, so many people die.
So many. And not to skip ahead to episode 3 too much, but he sure stops feeling guilty pretty quickly. And by guilty, I mean he isn't even really guilty in this episode. He's just worried that they're going to trace it back to him, Let me sip my little drink. Let me allow myself to be congratulated. Londo. Okay, but that's episode 3. Episode 2, Jakar, I guess, comes back, warns everyone about this big scary thing. Should we talk about Delenn and her transformation?
Delenn comes out of her cocoon.
Wings.
No, she does not have wings.
Without wings, unfortunately.
No, I know, but that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite random things of just like, she's got wings to like mess with the cop.
So before we talk about Delenn, because we want to talk about that reference, we need to talk about Garibaldi. I'm sorry, we need to talk about Garibaldi.
That's okay, as long as we don't talk about him too much in episode 3.
That's fine. So the main thing I want to talk about Garibaldi in this episode is the fact that, like 2 or 3 episodes ago, y'all asked me if the alien healing device was ever going to come back.
And here it is.
Yeah. And here it is.
It came back.
It came back almost immediately.
I do appreciate that the captain immediately was like, oh, weird experimental new thing. Let me help you with that.
Let me try. This is a man who spent 3 years on the edge of known space, and he's seen a lot of weird stuff that he never talks about because it's probably classified.
I do genuinely, and I'm pretty sure I said this when we talked about this last time, Ethan, but like I do genuinely appreciate that they brought this machine back because it is my least favorite thing in a TV show when they introduce an OP anything, right? A device, a character, or
and then
whatever.
never talk about it
and
again.
then never talk about it again. And I'm like, in a universe in which this exists, how would not one single person ever use it again? You know, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, like, and because it's a big universe with a very tight timeline, obviously that is going to happen sometimes.
Right.
But as far as like internal consistency and logic goes, and Babylon 5 as a show and Straczynski as a showrunner is very, very good at picking up what seem to be dropped threads. But they were not actually dropped. They were just hanging out for a time. He likes to plant things. Some of them he is planting in case he needs them later. Some of them he is planting because he knows he's going to use them later. This is one of the things he knew he was going to use later.
Yeah. And I get the feeling that I've been telling them off the pod that I've actually been reading the book that Ethan mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, and I'm almost done with it. But now understanding his need to constantly be prepared for things, whether they be conversations or careers, or how long, for example, how long it actually took him to physically write anything on paper because he didn't understand the process of creative writing at all. So he was like, let me read all the things. Let me let me write in the style of other people. Let me see what stories let me look at different genres. Like before he wrote any of his own original work, he wrote a billion other things that made almost no sense to him. He was just like, these are just fun exercises. He wrote a book just to see he could write a book. And I'm like, bro, hang on. He wrote a book.
So the book that Joy is referencing is Becoming Superman, which is J. Michael Straczynski's autobiography. And the two of the major things that you should take away from this book without reading it, because it's a really hard read for me, is that Straczynski is very autistic. He also came from he grew up in an extremely abusive household. And both of those things.
The first like 12 chapters are extremely hard to get through. If you can get through them, the rest of it is it's all magnificent. But if you struggle reading stories of trauma, because the first like 20 to 25 years of his life are pretty much just all trauma, it will be a hard read for you. Once he gets out of his house, it really gets going.
Once he leaves his parents behind, he's better.
But yeah, I 100% believe he just peppers the whole show with stuff that he'll use later, and hopefully he gets to use it later.
Well, it's also coming from and I am autistic, so I can speak to that part, but also like coming from an extremely traumatic background, the need to be prepared for everything.
Yeah.
I know. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talks about how quiet he was, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, you're quiet because, number one, if you said anything, you would get horribly beaten for it. And number two, if you said anything, it had to slot into the conversation in which you were a part of. So it's like oodles and oodles of pages of like, I didn't talk to girls. Why on earth would I talk to girls? I don't have a plan for that. There's no plan. And I was like, yes. Trauma response.
I still don't have a plan for talking to girls.
Plan?
You already have a wife, Ethan.
I'm married to one.
You're good.
Anyway, alien healing machine, not a MacGuffin, actually comes back.
Yeah.
So Garibaldi is on the brink of death, and then he's not. And because he can't remember the circumstances in which he was shot, he asks Talia to do a deep scan on him. It's not admissible in court, but he wants to know who shot him. And it turns out, we are the viewers, we know this, but he doesn't know this. The guy who shot him was his, basically his second in command in security, who we still don't have a name. Who we still don't have a name for.
That annoys me so much because I'm pretty sure I've seen that actor other places and I can't even check. It bothers me to no end.
Oh, I could check. I know what the actor's name is.
Well, then, no. That's okay. Continue your point.
Yeah,
Because
but,
we also have a whole nother episode to talk about.
Yes.
Somehow magically in like 20 minutes.
The episode 3 doesn't have as many plots going on.
Very true.
So he realizes that it was his second in command, and the rest of security basically punks. He does have a name. I'm going to call him by the name that Garibaldi uses to refer to him one time. His name is Jack.
Oh my God.
His name is Jack. We hear Garibaldi call him Jack once. So I'm going to call him Jack.
Thank God for insane fans looking that up.
I wasn't an insane fan looking. Well, it was me. So yes, it was an insane fan. The entire security staff punks Jack and says, "You got to come out here. You know, Ambassador Delen's out of her cocoon and she has wings just like a butterfly."
Best
Jack
punk.
Best punk ever. And Jack falls for it and he gets the wind knocked out of him.
I think
taken off to security.
There are two things I love about Jack being punked in this way. The first is that Of course, it's because the rumor mill is running when it comes to Delen. And I love that. The second is that, and maybe I'm just reading this whole situation wrong. So tell me if I am. But my second favorite thing about him being punked in this way is that I don't actually think that was necessary. Like, why did they need to have him get up out of his office chair and exit his office in order to apprehend him? They apprehended him right outside his office in the hallway.
And they're all in riot gear.
And they're all there. They're all in riot gear. It's not like they had to take him to a separate location where no one would see. It's not like they had to pull him out of a bunker. He was in his office chair. And in my mind, they did this to him just for fun.
Well, Sheridan turns up right as they're apprehending him, and the beat cop, who gets a name. His name is Lou Welch. He's the balding one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, who looks like a Brooklyn plumber.
Yes.
And Welch says to Sheridan, you know, if you, we can take him to lockup, or you can take a walk around the block.
Mm-hmm.
He says this to Sheridan, meaning if you walk away, we will happily beat the crap out of him.
Yes.
And Sheridan's just like, that's okay. Please go lock him up.
Sheridan, the
golden retriever. There is no reason for this. There is no reason for the scene to be written like this.
None.
Absolutely none.
None whatsoever. It's just.
I mean, I do think it's. Oh, you mean with the we could rough him up a little bit for you? That one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's written that way to give Sheridan, you know, make him look like more of a Boy Scout by not letting them beat him up.
Yeah, that's 100% what that is.
Now that you're pointing it out, like reflecting on episodes 2 and 3, we see a lot of Garibaldi's men sort of rallying behind him between these two episodes. So I guess this is also another example of that.
Yeah.
But again, being punked, I think that was just for fun.
I definitely think that was just for fun, and an excellent example of the B5 rumor mill milling its rumors.
Milling its rumors.
So good. So good. Oh my God. I just keep imagining him being like super busy doing something. They're like, what do you want?
He is too. He even says that. He's like,
he's engrossed.
So much to do. Can you leave me alone, please? I'm actually doing my job that I got by trying to murder my boss.
Definitely could have just apprehended him in his office chair. It's fine. Okay, Sheridan and his trauma, Sheridan and his sister. And the video of the wife.
Yeah. And the video of the wife. Sheridan's sister comes to the station because she hasn't... I said Sheridan's sister, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sheridan's sister comes to the station because she hasn't seen her brother in like 3 years. And he just wants to show her around because he hasn't seen her.
I love her. I'm so
Yeah,
sad we
me
never see her
too.
again. She's the best.
She's so normal. She's so normal. I
She's
love her.
literally the best.
I
Her
love
name
that
is Elizabeth.
description. So normal is a great description for her.
She is so normal and not military and doesn't really. She's like, John, I've been here for a day and all you've talked about is work. He is genuinely so proud of his shiny new toy space station.
My notes there just say Sheridan is just so jazzed to be here. Because he is. He's just so jazzed to be here and drink his juice and eat his fruit and, meet all of these alien races who are just around the corner.
Bouncy,
Yes.
bouncy, so he doesn't have to think about the fact that he's a widower.
And now he did get some closure in this episode, I suppose.
He did get a little bit of closure because one of the things that he was upset about is not just the fact that his wife died very badly, but the fact that the last time he saw her, he had canceled an anniversary trip with her because he was too busy doing inspections on his ship. And the last time they talked, he had forgotten to say I love you before they hung up. And he was just taking that so personally and carrying that grief around. And the thing that his sister brought him was part of a message that Anna, Sheridan's wife, had sent to her because apparently, basically, he married his sister's best friend.
Yeah. Which is another thing that I'm just like, I love this. I love all of this. Of course you did.
It's so white bread.
Cute.
And in this message, it's Anna talking to Lizzie about the fact that John canceled their anniversary trip. And Anna was actually jazzed about that because she had been planning to cancel it.
Yes.
Because she wanted to go and take this science officer job on this expedition ship called the Icarus, which no one in this show is literate in Greek mythology.
I guess.
At all. No one has seen Clash of the Titans. Any of them?
It didn't survive. Don't you know the only thing that survived was the hokey pokey?
We're not in the Star Trek universe. We're in the Babylon 5 universe.
Yes,
We're in the
that's
Babylon
right.
5 universe.
Clary, all Harry Hamlin movies did not survive the nuclear holocaust.
No.
But basically, the message is just Anna was going to cancel on John anyway, and she was not and she wasn't mad at him when she died. And that is the closure he gets, is basically, and he gets to see this last message from his wife, and he gets to like pause the screen and touch her digital face and say I love you.
He touches her face.
It's very sweet. It is. It's sincere. It's sweet. I'm not gonna make fun of it.
No,
it's just weird because the next time you see an image of his wife, it's a different woman.
That's so weird.
But that's the Sheridan plotline.
Okay, that's the Sheridan plotline. Delenn. And her transformation. She does not become a butterfly.
We don't see Delenn until the very end of the episode, where she walks serenely into the council chamber and takes off her hood and reveals that she is now half Minbari, half human.
Hence, again, the prophecy, right? Two sides coming together against the darkness. I don't know. And their whole thing, right, was that the other Minbari officials were upset with her for actively taking an active role in the prophecy instead of allowing it to just happen.
The standpoint of the rest of the Great Council is that prophecy will attend to itself. Which is very, what do I want to say? Old school.
Yes.
And Delenn is just like, no, prophecy helps those who help themselves.
I love that.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that she was planning on doing that the other council members did not want her to do. And when Hadron shows up at the station and he goes to see her and he sees the cocoon and he's just like, she did it anyway. I don't know exactly if this was always intended within the lore of the show, if this was always... No, I'm lying. This was always intended. However, originally, Delenn in the first season was going to be played by a male actor.
Oh.
So this was or by a female actor using a vocal synthesizer. Basically, the character of Delenn originally was going to be male in the first season, and this was also supposed to be not just a species transformation, but a gender transformation.
Interesting.
That, for whatever reason, did not pass the studio heads.
Uh-huh.
I have no sources for this. This is stuff that I picked up off of message boards many years ago. If that is true, and it's been repeated enough where it might be, I don't know. So this is hearsay. Take all of this with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have actually been really interesting.
Yeah.
But
it's weird. I would have
processing it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would have reacted to it the same way. Because I think the character of Delenn starting in a feminine position of power is really much more interesting to me. Because especially since you already have assuming the two other ambassadors were also still going to be male.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you would have had 3 male ambassadors, the leader of the space station, who is also a man. And I keep thinking about all those committee meetings where it's Delenn, the voice of reason, the one woman in the sausage fest.
I don't think it would have been handled well. I think if that had,
Yeah.
I think by keeping Delenn as a woman throughout, I think we avoided a lot of unnecessary sexism in the council chamber.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would have been, and it was the 90s, it would not have been handled well. I still think it would have been interesting. I'm not sorry it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because
I think it would have, had I watched it again, watching it in the gaze of 2024, it would have just felt like pandering.
Yeah.
They're people are accusing us of not having more women on this show, so fine, here's a woman. If they had done it, and I was just oh, yeah, no, I don't think anyone could have handled that well.
Yeah, I will say, Joy, my first thought was that if I were living in a universe in which that version of the show exists, I think that if my first thought when watching it would have been, why is this happening? You know what I mean? I don't know. Because the fact that Delenn, a Minbari, transforms into a Minbari human, and that's the whole prophecy, at least as my understanding is in my head, these two sides coming together, and now there is someone who exists who is literally both of those things. Narratively, that makes sense to me as why you would transform a character that way. So if Delenn had originally had been played by a male actor in the first season and then they transformed in the second season, I would have been but why is that also happening?
Yes, but the other thing you have to remember is that the narrative that we see in the first season was not the original narrative.
Fair.
It went through, and the Delenn having a gender change was something that was from the original concept.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good change what they decided to do.
Yes, but this just occurred to me. I think, and again, this is 20-year-old hearsay. That this element was even considered at any point. But I think that if it was considered, I think that one of the unintentional holdovers was the fact that Delenn has only male mentors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All of her old friends, with the exception of Shalmayan.
The poet, yeah.
The poet. All of her friends, all of her friendships, all of her relationships are with men.
Very, very true.
So I think that might be a weird holdover from that.
I think it's harder unless you like bake it into the makeup of the species to discuss gender in an alien race and not have it come off super strange.
Yeah.
Like we don't see a lot of, like at least with the Centauri, you can kind of see this very clear class divide between men and women, and like you see it very obviously in like their hair length and what like a lot of women being slaves and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, that makes sense. Although I'm still very curious about all the anatomy because I've spoiled myself and now I just need to know. I need to know where things fit. I know we never find out, but Reddit has some interesting theories. But like the I think gender roles in particular, gender roles and then gender orientation and then like the bits. You know what I mean? It's like Minbari could just even having hair,
Right.
All of that. My brain went, hang on, hair is like an extremely new here's something I learned from Hank Green, so it's true. Like the reason you lose your hair when you go through chemo is because chemo is meant to kill the cells of fast growing things in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And hair is actually extremely fast growing, which is why it's one of the first things that you lose during chemo and radiation therapy.
Interesting.
Okay, that's an interesting point. If for no other reason than it really bothers Rosemary that Delenn shows up with a full head of hair.
Full head of hair, yeah.
Yes.
No, I know.
She's like she should have been bald or rocked a buzz, like a buzzed in look or some undercut or something.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Like, again, the only reason, because again, I just learned this fact, was because hair grows so quickly is the reason that like people lose their hair, because your hair, the chemo is actually killing your hair too fast.
Okay.
And that's why you lose it. It's killing it faster than your hair can reproduce. So the idea that she's in a cocoon, very quickly changing into like a human, like this would, in theory, she's going through evolutionary changes, right? Like she's Minbari human children for like 7 or 8 generations to get what she is now. And I'm sitting here like, I'm fascinated that you have a full head of hair, but actually that might make medical sense. Hang on. Like, you've been in the cocoon for how long? 2 or 3 months? Cool. Maybe.
We would, and we wouldn't be asking this question if she had come out with wings.
No, we wouldn't.
I know. That's the other thing.
The stone that formed on her skin, ignore.
She comes out with wings and it's like, surprise, she's actually a man. Because male Minbari have wings. Like, we don't know. Like, it's... No. But I do love this transformation. I love that when she first shows up, she's almost sick because she has this, like, scaly, heavy, flaking off skin and doesn't, like, it's almost like she's molting and doesn't really know how to get it off.
And I think when she emerges from the cocoon, I think or the chrysalis, as they insist on calling it.
Even though it's explicitly not a chrysalis, it is a cocoon.
It is not a chrysalis, it's a cocoon.
I know.
I think she might still be dealing with like remnants of the change because she seems to be in like deep physical pain.
Yeah. Like she's doubled over. She can't speak well. 100%.
She's crying. Yeah.
She definitely has that, like, what I describe as, like, nerve pain reaction.
Yeah.
Where it's, like, you can't, like, you're shaking and you're doubled over, but you can't, like, it's not, you can't say it's, like, my stomach hurts. It's, like, your whole body is just on fire and she can't even move her hand. Like, it's really interesting the way she comes out of that cocoon.
Yes.
I think.
I just want to take this moment to note that, which I have already shown Nella and Joy, and which I cannot show to our listeners, but I will describe. What I have in my hand, a lovingly handcrafted, basically a sock doll of Delenn, as she is now, with her little crest and her hair,
Yeah.
which was neatly crocheted and sewn by my wonderful friend Zan in British Columbia. So shout out to Zan. Thank you for this.
I love her.
I treasure it still.
Oh,
I love her.
it is so
Actually,
cute.
you can if you'd like, you can take a photo of it and we can share it on our socials. You can throw it on your Patreon.
Oh, I will totally do that. Yes.
Yeah, which I think is it's like you could even put it under the spoiler filter for people who haven't seen Babylon 5. But then again, why are you listening to this podcast, you weirdos?
Why have you gotten this
Watch
far?
the episodes.
All right. It's okay. Oh God, we need to keep going.
Yeah, because we
we sure
have
do.
to summarize.
We need like 10 minutes.
We have like 10 minutes to talk about episode 3. And the thing is, we didn't even talk about the intrigue that I imagine is going to become very important in episode 2, which is all of the stuff about President Clark. And how fishy the president is, and how possibly the president was involved in the assassination of the past president, and also the whole
how Garibaldi's aid helped with that.
There's the whole the investigation of Zahadum. There's a lot that happens here that I imagine will become important. So maybe we just talk about it when it becomes important.
There we go.
I mean, I think you just did it, Danielle.
There it
you
is.
did it on the speed run.
There we
Good
go.
job.
There it is. Speed run. All stuff. Very important. Okay.
All right. Next episode, Geometry of Shadows. Ivanova is promoted and given a diplomatic assignment. Londo seeks affirmation from an unusual source. The unusual source is Michael Ansara, who is playing a technomage.
A technomage.
I
A technomage.
love the technomages. They are the most ridiculous concept, and that is why I love them, because they are something that I actually wish I had made up first.
They're beautiful, and it's a sort of thing that I really think could only have been conceived of in the late 80s or early 90s.
Yes.
Like, it's very much like, oh,
Yes. Real quick, Michael Ansara, who plays the lead technomage, the only one with lines.
Elric, I think.
Yes, he plays Elric, whose name was cribbed from Michael Moorcock novels. Michael Ansara is famous in science fiction circles for playing Kang, the Klingon captain in the original Star Trek episode The Day of the Dove. And he reprised that role in an episode of Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
And in a different episode of Deep Space Nine, he plays a totally different character who's married to Waxana Troy.
I mean, people be playing multiple things.
Oh, wait, it's Star Trek. The wonderful
Just
thing
television.
and television. The wonderful thing about Babylon 5 being produced when it was right in that same space when you had like 3 Star Treks on TV at once, and they were all being filmed in the same general region of California. So they were just, all of these hardworking character actors are just bouncing from space station to space station.
I also love that he was in Buck Rogers of the 25th Century too.
Yes. This is a me thing. As a kid, I would get Michael Ansara mixed up with Christopher Lee.
Yes,
very
I
similar
see it.
vocal quality.
I see it. It's that same. I think I talked about this last episode or 2 episodes ago about the like the specific way in which actors speak. They have like the similar cadence.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So these are technomages, and they are basically, I don't know really how to describe them accurately except to say that they're literal computer wizards.
They're wizards.
They're
wizards, Harry.
I a tiny bit for a moment there, Ethan, thought that you were about to launch into quoting their own description of themselves. Like, oh, they're dreamers. They're this. I was like,
I don't have that memorized.
and I was about to be like,
Hang on. Let me see.
It is an extremely long description that I did not write down because I did not have time.
Oh my God, it is.
To pause this episode in order to write it down.
Well, I was saying this to Joy off mic, that Michael Straczynski writes excellent dialogue for comic books.
Yeah.
And that's not a criticism. He is legitimately a comic book writer.
Yes.
He is, And sometimes when he writes a monologue, it sounds like it has come out of a comic book. There should be a speech bubble around this.
You're right. This is a really good example of that.
It's so lofty and sincere and weighty, and nobody would say these words in real life.
Yeah. And I especially love the, like, when Captain Sheridan is like, but what do you know? And he basically tells him, like, we know everything. We know the 13 words to say before someone dies so that they die peacefully. We know the 7 words to say to the one you love. We know how to get rich. We know how to be poor. We know everything.
Yes.
So we're literally going to go out among the stars and keep all this information to ourselves. Like, it was so funny. It was just so funny. I love that they basically just stopped off at this station of, like, we just need to grab some rations for eternity and then we'll be on our way. What? Like,
and then because Londo sticks his nose in where it's not wanted, Londo is desperately trying to get some sort of sign or approval from the Technomages for his whole, I'm going to help overthrow the aging emperor whose son just died and now there are no other heirs.
I have a question about this that I know we don't really have time to talk about, but, like, if the emperor is old and sickly and does not have an heir, why would they need to overthrow him? Can't they just wait for him to die?
Well, it's not that he doesn't have an heir exactly. It's that his son died recently. Apparently he drowned, which is something you don't find out in the show. It's just in the Usenet archives.
Okay.
But the Emperor does have an heir.
Oh.
As we find out a little later in the show.
Okay.
He is not somebody who the nobles initially want on the throne. But also they're like, well, if we can get rid of the Emperor now, before he has time to maybe nominate somebody less malleable than this other guy, we can move into place and solidify our own power base first.
I see. Okay.
right.
It does.
It
is helpful to know that there is sort of a spare, as it were. You know, an heir and a spare. It is helpful to know that there is a spare.
Yes.
Because I was a little bit confused about why this entire situation needed to happen.
And it's also, you don't, at this point in the show, you don't know. It's like, well, if there's no heir, how do the Centauri pick a new emperor? Is it trial by combat? Is it to the death? What's going on here?
Yeah. Very confusing.
Anyway, Londo wants, basically he wants a blessing, basically. He wants words of affirmation from the Technomage, because in the Centauri history, getting the approval of a Technomage is a very powerful symbol. And he wants it for the optics, basically. And the Technomages are just like, leave us alone, please.
Yeah.
We are going to cast digital spells on you. I love that he gets a hollow curse. A hollow demon infects his computer and sends all of his money gets transferred into shares in a spoo ranch.
Yes.
And
fireflies.
And there's Narn opera playing on his speakers in his quarters.
Diabolical.
It sounds like someone yodeling into a speaking tube.
My favorite of the little curses he received was the moment where he walks away and there's 3 little demons on his back.
3 little terrible CGI demons.
So cute.
I love them. I would have named them.
Yes. Heckle, Jekyll, and Bob.
Exactly. It's always got to be a Bob.
It's always got to be a Bob. But because of Londo's interference, Sheridan ends up needing to question the Technomages as to why they're there and where they're going, and that's kind of the that's the justification for this episode existing. But also we get to the Michael and Sarah does an actual little bit of magic and pops an orange blossom into Sheridan's hand, which I like sleight of hand.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
for me, it wasn't so much the sleight of hand, but the fact that they conjured an orange blossom and then sleight of handed it.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yep.
Well, they have to mix the actual magic with the real, with fake magic.
Oh no,
which is
I'm sorry. No. It wasn't literal sleight of hand.
I was
and Sarah just put it in Sheridan's palm.
Exactly.
No, I'm sorry.
I was like, we sleight of hand. But it's funny because it's like he conjures it.
I like magic in stories. That's like, this is so cheesy and 90s, but it works for me so well. And it's like, the Techno Mages are like if the cover art from a 90s point-and-click video game came to life.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
And I love them.
Yeah.
However, the Techno Mages are like the plot relevant part of this episode somehow, because the Londo stuff is plot relevant. The B plot is the Drazi.
The Drazi.
And Ivanova trying to make sense of the Drazi.
Oh, Ivanova.
Spoilers, you can't make sense of the Drazi.
A, yes. B, Ivanova's not a diplomat.
Nope, but she just got promoted, so now she has to learn.
To what exactly?
To what?
To what exactly? What is she promoted to? Like, I know
she was
commander.
She was a lieutenant commander. Now she's a commander.
That gives her a different title, but it doesn't change her job on the station, right?
It raises it's going to mean she has more responsibilities. It's also going to mean she gets a bump in her paycheck.
Okay. All right.
I think because wasn't Sinclair a commander?
Yes.
Yeah, I got the impression that it's like, and now you have a little bit more of a diplomatic, like I got the impression that Captain Sheridan, instead of doing all the things himself, like what Sinclair was doing, decided to mitigate all of those responsibilities a little bit more to his upper crust, which also kind of made me wonder why Sinclair didn't do that. And then I was like, well, Sinclair, I guess, just wanted no sleep. So
Sleep bad.
And
also, I think it's just sort of maintaining the chain of command. If you have a captain and a lieutenant commander, there's a break there.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so the Drazi. The green, purple.
Green or purple?
Green. Purple. What is your conflict?
Green. Purple.
So this episode felt to me just like the biggest middle finger to every Star Trek episode.
It's like the Star Trek episode with the people who had like the half white and half black faces.
Yes.
That's my favorite episode.
I mean, it's a very good episode, but this 100% feels like a middle finger. It literally feels like Straczynski being like, hey, your faces are different colors. And that's literally it.
But he took it to like an extra level, I think, which is why it reads as a middle finger. Because the way
so ludicrous.
Yeah, the way that they choose their leaders, dear listeners, and their teams, actually, their factions, is that all of these sashes are in a giant bucket. And everyone picks a sash at random. And you are either then green or purple, and one of the green sashes has a leader button on it, and one of the purple sashes has a leader button on it, and whoever picks the one with the button becomes the leader. And that's it. And then they kill each other.
Up.
No,
they're only supposed to beat each other up.
Well, but these ones are doing much more than that.
They are. They've escalated the situation, probably because Ivanova stuck her nose into things.
My favorite part is that even when she swaps the sashes from one to the other, they switch sides. And when she takes the leader sash, all of a sudden they have to listen to her.
Yes.
Like, it's completely bonkers understanding.
It's bonkers, A. And, like, when she switches the sash, the way that she does it is, like, she takes a purple sash off of one of the purple Drazi and puts that sash onto a green Drazi, but she didn't first take off the sash that the green Drazi was wearing. And so that Drazi ends up having being both.
Yeah.
Which
I don't think any of the Drazi actually think about it too hard. They
But
just
they
use
should.
it as an excuse to start launching. They're the Drazi. They don't think. They don't
But
think
that's
that
the
hard.
whole episode, Danielle.
That's the whole point
They
of
don't.
this episode.
I'm like, but wait, but by your rules, you now have someone who's both. What do you do with them? And I guess you kill them. I guess that's what you do.
Yes.
I don't love this premise for the episode just because it's frustrating to me personally as a human being watching it, because I'm just like, oh God, this is super senseless. It bothers me so much because they're not fighting for anything. They're fighting for the sashes on their bodies. And like, I love the commentary of like, but you guys have flags and you fight other people with other flags. And Ivanova is like, that's different. And I'm like, I'm almost sitting here like, is it? And then I'm like, no, it is. It is. It's 100% different.
It is.
It is, in fact, different.
We don't pick those. But it's all, Ivanova has Ivanova has a quote where she's like, I get stuck with the species that talks only in memes.
Macros.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it's all repetition anyway. I can't remember what the exact quote is, but Straczynski said something about the Drazi at one point where he's like, I created the Drazi solely so that I could write a species that spoke only in macros, basically.
I love it.
Everything with the Drazi is boiled down to its most basic, nonsensical essentials. Also, so Ivanova, this is her first diplomatic assignment, is to basically make the Drazi stop fighting each other on the station because they are disrupting the station pretty badly. And as Danielle pointed out, Ivanova is not a diplomat. And in the course of trying to understand the conflict and find a non-lethal solution, she gets caught up in a massive brawl and ends up breaking her foot.
In 3 places.
In 3 places. So she spends half of the episode hobbling around on a cane, and at one point gets captured by the Drazi and has to be rescued by Garibaldi.
That's all I have to say about that.
I would like to point out that is not how the episode was originally written. It was originally written for Ivanova to be getting herself out of trouble.
Well, why did they keep it?
Because Claudia Christian actually broke her foot.
Okay.
I was wondering about that. I was like, that feels like someone had an injury.
The episode was written before she broke her foot. And then they had to write her injury into the episode.
Yes.
And all of the physical stuff that she had been intended to do, like all of the action, she could now not do. And there wasn't time to rewrite the script to such an extent where she could do it by herself. In a non-action oriented way.
So I was like, surely there's a way she could have figured this out. But fine. Fair.
In the episode, when she is walking, before Ivanova breaks her foot, when you see the character walking around the council chamber, that is actually Claudia Christian walking around on a broken foot.
Oh, no.
So that they could get the shot.
Yeah. It's dedication.
Oh my God, they couldn't even use a body double in clever angles. Come on, guys.
Do you think this show had a budget?
I mean, no, but have you seen some of the body doubles they use?
I have, yes.
Their prosthetics are pretty.
That's where the budget goes.
Yeah.
The budget goes to the prosthetics
because they're on point.
And the actors' salaries.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. In fact, jumping back a little bit, Delen's prosthetics apparently were more complicated once she became half human.
Because of the hair plus crest situation,
well, the hair is her hair.
Yeah, and the crest has to go sort of under.
Sort of under. It's like around like a tiara, like almost like an angled tiara. But it's, if you notice, she has her brow the not the ridge, but the bone structure between her brow and her the bridge of her nose is a lot more pronounced than it was when she was a full Minbari. So there are a lot of extra little pieces instead of before, when it was basically just a bald cap and a bone.
That makes sense.
Amazing.
Wait, are we by some miracle on One More Things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's One More
Mostly
Thing?
because we're not really talking about Garibaldi.
Yeah,
We're not talking
we
about
don't care about
Garibaldi.
him.
We are not talking
And by
about
we, I mean
Garibaldi.
I don't care
The
about him.
only thing I will say about the Garibaldi thing was, like, particularly in this episode, I was like, oh no, I have the work ethic of Garibaldi. And then, then thank God
you mean the part where he's like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm no good. I'm just gonna leave.
Yes.
Honey.
It was a real like, oh my God, someone has betrayed me and turned into not the person I thought they were. I need to question literally every single decision I've ever made and every trusted, like, bond I've ever had. And maybe I've been wrong this whole time. I'm like, oh no, I'm Garibaldi. It's me. It was me the whole time.
No.
Oh no.
But I will say it got super annoying super fast when Garibaldi was basically just wandering around the station, not having anything to do. And I was like, okay, bro, at least I wouldn't do that.
His staff bought him a cake.
What a baby. No, just kidding. I mean, I know a traumatic thing happens to him. Literally, if it were any other character going through this, I would be sympathetic. Listeners, I just don't like Garibaldi.
We said we weren't going to talk about Garibaldi, and here we are talking about Garibaldi.
Yes, true. Well, one more thing. Who has an actual one more thing?
That's literally the thing I said. I was like, one thing about Garibaldi, and that's it. One thing.
Is that your one more thing?
That was your one more thing. I'm so sorry.
No.
It wasn't my one more thing. It was just like, here's the one thing about Garibaldi. Good. One thing.
Okay. We did the Garibaldi thing.
What's your one more thing, Joy?
I have one stupid one and one funny one.
Do it.
So the stupid one is, I like how we were suddenly in a detective noir in the middle of that second episode. Because noir is apparently my favorite genre.
Noir is
ended
definitely
up being my favorite genre, weirdly. Noir is weird, and I like it. I like the tropes. I don't know what to tell you. The tropes are very funny. But yeah, all of a sudden, Garibaldi and his second-in-command suddenly were in a detective drama where he's grilling him even though he's got a cane. It was very funny. And then, that's like the weird one. The funny one to me is, like, I like that the lounge now has jazzy theme music, so we always know when we're heading towards the lounge.
I'm so glad you pointed that out.
We always get a little jazzy riff.
There was a lot of partying in these 3 episodes.
Right?
Welcome to Earhart. Also, this is not my one more thing, but I need to point out a character that we neglected to mention. Because he is worth neglecting. The network made Straczynski add a character to the cast in this season because they felt that the show needed an everyman character. So that's why we have Lieutenant Warren Keffer, who is the fighter pilot in the first episode.
Oh, yeah, and he even is part of the little beginning sequence now, too.
Yeah, he's part of the opening credits now. And he exists.
Yeah. I'm confused about why the the studio, whoever, wanted an everyman.
The station.
Is Garibaldi not the everyman?
Apparently not. Thankfully.
Okay. What is your
one more thing?
Yeah.
My actual one more thing is that Garibaldi's aide, who is only ever called Jack, the actor's name is Macaulay Bruton. And
okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if it was him because he's not credited as that.
He's not what?
He is not credited as Jack. He's just credited as Garibaldi's aide. So I was like, well, now hang on. Yeah. How many aides does Garibaldi have?
His name is Macaulay Bruton. He does not have a lot of credits. to his name. Although he was sort of a jobbing actor from the late 70s, early 80s, he appears to have retired from acting and is currently director of operations at a Porsche dealership in California.
What?
His picture's on the website.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. He sells Porsches now.
I deeply want, like every time you show up to a workplace or corporate whatever, and they have tell us a fun fact about you. Like, if his fun fact isn't, I was on X number episodes of Babylon 5, then I don't know what he's doing.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people in Beverly Hills probably have cocktail stories like that.
Missed opportunity.
All right, Danielle, what is your one more thing?
I have two more one more things, but they're quick because they're silly. The first is that we never got a chance to talk about Veer. And so I love Veer so much and deeply. He has so many great moments in this third episode. But one of them is when he is approaching the techno mages and this frightening monster appears. And in the face of this monster, he just introduces himself over and over and over again. And then when the techno mage says to him, "You don't frighten easily," his response is, "I work for Ambassador Malari."
Yes.
Veer is wonderful
I love him.
in that third episode, because not only for that, but also because at the beginning of the episode when Londo and Lord Rifa, who we have not talked about but who will return, he's sort of framed with them on either side of him, and he's in the background watching them as they're coming up with their conniving little plans, and just this look of, I can't believe I'm hearing this, I don't like this is bad, this is very, very bad on his face, and he can't say anything
on his face. Oh, Veer. And then wait, when he was talking to Londo about his beliefs when it comes to fate.
Yes.
Yep. Veer, yes or no?
I guess my two more actually became three more, but they were like three more things that were all about Veer. And so I just felt like we had to talk about him.
Wait, did you actually have a second one?
I was thinking about mentioning, because we've talked so many times about Babylon 5 versus Star Trek, I do think that one thing that stood out to me at the beginning of the first episode was the fact that different people have different showers, and some people have access to water and some people don't have access to water. And and I know we've mentioned this before because there is like a very, very sort of below decks section of Babylon 5 where people literally live in poverty and experience houselessness or homelessness. And this was just like another example of the fact that, like in Star Trek, I don't think that some people have access to water and some people don't is something that would have existed. But in this show, it is.
I hate that you mentioned this.
Uh-oh, why?
Because last week I ranted to Rosemary for an hour about this.
Oh.
And I will condense it down very, very succinctly because we need to close this episode. Why are they so concerned about the water reclamation units on this station that only executive level staff and diplomatic staff get access to water showers when there is a hedge maze?
There's a hedge
on
maze.
This station. There's a hedge maze that has to be maintained.
There's plants.
There's a garden. There's a hydroponic system.
Yes.
Is there an Earth Force corps of gardeners maintaining the hedge maze? I need to know.
Exactly. The water situation on this station does not make sense to me.
Makes no sense.
So that is why I noticed showers.
But what is the other option? Danielle, what is the other option for showering if you don't have access to water showers?
Vibe shower.
Gotta make sure you got them vibes.
What is a vibe shower?
Vibe shower.
Vibe check.
It's all vibes.
You got a vibe check you shower, which was a perfectly innocuous word in 1995. It is no longer.
With that,
vibe check your showers. Can I tell you, Danielle? Yes. I thought you were going to talk about the opening of the episode, the new opening.
Oh, well, we didn't have time. Next time. That'll be the new opening for a long time, so plenty of chances to discuss it later.
The opening changes
True.
every season.
Okay, good to know.
No, I know, but I just love that they also bothered to change Delenn. Like, it's cute.
Yeah. Okay, is that it?
All right.
We did it! Podcast episode!
That's it.
Ethan, want to share your how to find you?
Yes, you can find me at Patreon/Ethan Quinsey. I'm also Ethan Quinsey on Blue Sky and Gaslight Gallows on Tumblr if you are brave enough to venture into that blue hell site.
And if you're looking for more BachPod, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, if you didn't have access to an executive level suite, what vibe would your shower be? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
That's right. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.